Welcome into episode 135 of the Godly MN podcast. Today we are discussing something that actually was a requested episode. Shout out Brian. Requested episode. He requested this actually like 2 months ago.
We're just now getting to it.
We're just now getting to it. Sorry, Brian. Yeah. But keep sending them our way. Join our Discord.
We do get to them eventually.
And yes, I was going to say, eventually. Even if it's not immediate, we will eventually get to them. But today we're discussing the idea of developing a heart for God. And I'm so glad that he requested this one because we can talk a lot about maybe things we should do, but at the end of the day, it really boils down to heart.
Yeah. This one, you got to be very careful because sometimes those who are very loosely religious or people who kind of just want to live however they want to and claim religion will make it all about the heart, right? Like, well, God knows my heart. You hear that quite a bit. Or, as long as my heart's in the right place, then I'm doing fine. And we don't subscribe to that at all, obviously. Typically, the people who are saying those things are people who, once again, want to justify whatever lifestyle they're living while hiding behind, well, God knows my heart. That's not what we're talking about today. We don't subscribe to that at all. But the Bible does talk a lot, Joe, about the idea of God looking at our hearts.
Yep.
And God, not just, what are the actions that we're doing, but your hearts. That's really the entire point of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5-7, where Jesus basically takes all of these bits and pieces of the old law, these do's, do nots, do these things, and Jesus tells the Pharisees and the Jewish people that were listening, hey, the law says this, you've heard it said this, but I say to you this, which took it, pretty much for every single one of them, took it a step farther to the heart of it rather than just the action. Not just about don't commit adultery, but hey, don't even lust for a woman in your heart. Murder. Not just don't murder somebody. Don't even hate your brother without a cause. Where does that start? In your heart. And so at the beginning of Jesus' ministry, Jesus kind of takes that point of focus.
Well, and he ends the Sermon on the Mount, at the end of Matthew 7, of course, where he talks about, many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons?
We did all these things.
We did all these things. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. I never knew you. Why? Why did I not know them? Because the heart wasn't there.
Yeah.
We did all these great things. Okay, yeah, but it's I didn't murder my brother, but I hated my brother, right? I didn't commit adultery, but I lusted. Those type of things.
Right.
And we're not going to get there by our own good deeds. It's going to be by the heart that is driving those good things. And so that's what we want to get into. The Bible speaks about heart dozens of times. Use the word cardia.
Sorry, briefly. 1 Samuel, should have written down the chapter, but about David. And when David is being chosen as king, God sends Samuel the prophet into the house of Jesse to choose the new king, and Samuel sees all of Jesse's sons and, guys that look like they'd be kings, right? Tall guys, handsome looking guys, I'm sure very built, muscular guys, and Samuel keeps going, man, it's got to be this guy, And I should have looked at the chapter.
I think
13,
it's
maybe
13 or 14. I had 13 in my mind. But
the verse is verse 7. Oddly, I don't know why I remember that, but I feel like it's verse 7 of whatever chapter where he says,
keep talking.
where God tells Samuel, hey, you look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And then, of course, David is very well known as the man after God's own heart. And so, again, we don't want to overdo the heart thing where it's, all about the heart. It is, your heart leads to the decisions that you make, and therefore the actions that you put forth into the world. And so those things are very related. But what is it, by the way? Did you find it?
I'm still looking. I think maybe 15, 16 is, isn't that David and Goliath?
17 is David and Goliath. So maybe it is 16 verse 7.
16, there you go.
I got to know if it's verse 7 now. I feel like it is.
Hold on. Coming in. So do not look at the appearance. Verse 7.
Damn.
Somehow you know it. 16 verse 7.
16 verse 7.
There you go.
So anyway, yes, heart is very important to God.
Yes, and cardia, the Greek word for heart, is the seat of physical, spiritual, and mental life. It is very much how the Bible uses that. And so, of course, it's incredibly important. So we want, as Christians, to develop that heart for God, not just doing the right things, but being about the right things, desiring the right things, which is, James 4:17, to him who knows the right thing to do and doesn't do it, it's sin, meaning our heart is supposed to be our conscience. It's supposed to be the thing that we do these things because we feel it's the right thing to do. And sometimes what is right for you may not be right for me in those contexts, but the heart is what's going to drive this. And so, there's Calvinists are going to look at something like this and they're going to say, well, God gives you that heart. You can't develop a heart for God at all. Or maybe you can, but basically God's going to give you the heart whether you want him or not. That's an oversimplicity, so some Calvinists are going to get on here and shoot us down. But basically that's what it is you don't really have any goodness of your own to speak of, and so God is going to give you a heart for him, and it's your job to develop. We disagree with that, but the idea is, we have an ability to choose God, and that's the beauty of being a human, is we have free choice to choose God every single day, and that's part of developing this heart for God.
Well, I think God works on your heart the more that you work on your heart for him. I think about the big debate around this Calvinism thing and God giving you the heart is who? Pharaoh, right?
Right.
And him, did Pharaoh harden his own heart, or did God harden Pharaoh's heart? Because in the text, it says both of those things. It says that Pharaoh hardened his heart, his own heart, that is, and it says that God hardened Pharaoh's heart. And I think the point that you see out of that, that's a whole other study, a whole other topic that we could get into another time, but the point in that is Pharaoh's own actions, Pharaoh's own stubbornness, Pharaoh's own rebellion against God got him to the point, like, Pharaoh did enough of it by himself, essentially, to where, yes, did God maybe come in and continue to harden his heart? Again, possibly, maybe, but what we do know is Pharaoh's actions determined where he got to the point where his heart was hardened even further.
Right.
So it's on him. I think similarly, in a positive direction, trying to develop a heart for God will lead to maybe God, helping you develop that.
So the point is, this is a choice. We do have the choice to do this. And so what are we talking about? What does it mean? Well, we broke it down into 4, but then we're going to have 10 ways as to how. The 4 things: we develop a desire for him, we develop a reliance on him, we develop a gratefulness for him, and we develop a consistent walk with him. So when I think of developing a heart for God, the desire, the reliance on him, the gratefulness for him, consistent walk, that's what's going to drive us, is a thankfulness for God, a reliance upon God every day. That's why we pray so much, is we realize there's a humility to say, I am reliant upon God and his grace every single day. We have a strong desire for him. We want to desire the things of God. That's what spurs on our Christianity, is our desire to be more like Christ. Not he's going to punish me if not. Well, yeah, that's there, but we want to desire him, and of course a consistent walk, because it's one thing to get super on fire. We've talked about this before. The camp baptisms that take place, start of the year. Yeah, everybody's on fire for God, and it's rah rah. July we come back from a camp, we're on fire, and by mid-August, we run out of steam. We want to have a consistent walk with him where we are constantly being renewed.
Just briefly, John, putting you on the spot, I'll go first. Which of those is the hardest for you? Desire, reliance, gratefulness, consistent walk. I can very easily answer the one for me while you're maybe thinking about it.
I know mine, yeah.
I'd say for me, it's probably reliance, honestly. And I think it's because I think this is reflected in the biggest struggle for me in my life with, as far as spirituality goes, and that is prayer. There's times I just feel like maybe I don't rely on him as much as I should. I rely on myself, my own ability to make money, to provide for my family, I can do it all myself. And I know I always have God. Of course, I'd never stop believing or have faith in God, but it's almost like, I don't know, I need to put myself in more opportunities, or in positions more often to rely on him more than I do, whether that be just simply through prayer or through whatever it may be. I'd say that one's probably the biggest struggle for me.
Yeah, mine, I was thinking, is consistent walk. I see exactly where you're coming from. Mine's consistency, just because I do feel like the reliance is, I know what you're saying in the prayer, because prayer is probably my biggest struggle as well, of consistently praying. But that's the thing, is the consistency. There are times where I'm praying a lot, I'm praying throughout the day, praying all the time, and then there's days, maybe even entire weeks, where it's like, man, how much did I actually pray? Obviously for meals and such, and maybe in the morning, but like, how much did I pray? Was I about the prayer life? And so it comes and goes, and I think consistency, and this is why we're talking to you about it, is we're not perfect in these areas, of course.
Oh, yeah.
We share these things on the podcast fully knowing we are imperfect, fully knowing we're trying to get there ourselves, and this is how we found to develop, and so obviously we'd love to get your thoughts on it.
I would just say, but Joe, then you can get us into the first one. For every single episode that we put out, we're going to stand strong in what we think and believe. But I very much hope we don't present it as if it's it's our way or the highway, man.
Right.
Like, we're really
and
good.
we've got this all
and
right.
we've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Everyone is stupid except us. That's not the case. Again, hopefully we don't present that way. We, of course, believe wholeheartedly everything we talk about, but specifically with this stuff, spiritually, even stuff we got some episodes coming up about, marriage and family. We always do episodes about marriage and family, but we don't have it all figured out. We're not perfect in all these things, but what we have learned and kind of the direction we're aiming is what we're trying to pass along, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to give that clarification.
No, that's a great, it's a needed reminder from time to time, because I know we have some distractors. I think that we're super arrogant, and hopefully we don't come across that way, as much as it really is just an appeal to do better and to strive for greatness.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're looking to do here. And so
10 ways.
As we get into this, 10 ways that we can develop heart for God. We want to know, I'm going to say it on the front end, we'll probably say it on the back end. Comment your own ways if you found ways to grow in your walk. These are going to be somewhat basic, but we really want to explore some of these. And if you found other ways, please do share. Jump on the Discord, share it, YouTube, whatever it is. Hit us up on Facebook Messenger or Instagram. First and foremost, confront your own sinfulness. So number 1, confront your own sinfulness.
It's an interesting one.
What do we mean by this? When I was writing the outline, I think one of the reasons I put this first is, if you want to develop a heart for God, all of it's going to end if you have a glaring sin in your life that you're doing nothing with, or doing nothing about. So we know Isaiah 59, 1 and 2, God's hand is not so short that it cannot save, but our sins have made a separation between us and God. There's naturally going to be that separation if we have some lingering sin. And look, I get it. I counsel guys with porn addictions all the time. A lot of the godly men are going to struggle with porn. Are you doing everything you can to combat it? Are you fighting it? Are you, tooth and nail? Are you getting rid of whatever device is the problem? Are you asking your parents for help? Do you have accountability partners where you've talked to them about it? If it's kind of like, man, I'm struggling, I'm trying to do some right things. Well, I read my Bible today. No. You got to be about killing sin in your life.
Delete your apps, delete your social media, all that stuff.
And that's what we mean by confront your own sinfulness is you have to be willing to see the ways that you're a sinner, and then also be willing to do whatever it takes to get out of it, because that is what creates that separation between us and God, that we just have something standing in the way that's like, man, I want a heart for God, but I'm trapped underneath the weight of whatever sin this is.
I think about David, called the man after God's own heart, one of the best biblical examples of somebody who had a heart for God. What his most notorious sin, what do we also know about it? He was incredibly contrite. So many of the Psalms, or Psalm 51 actually we read in class this morning, is an entire prayer of contrition, essentially, for being contrite and sorry. And then he confronted it. He didn't try to say,
right,
man, I made a mistake, but everybody makes mistakes. No. He pled with God, cleanse me of this. Forget. He very much confronted it, and so that's kind of where my mind went with this point.
That's exactly it. You take ownership, you take responsibility. Yes, you are a sinner. That's not a newsflash. Everybody knows that. What are you doing to get rid of it? If you got a problem with gossip, or you got a problem with anger, or whatever it is, get books on that. Study, learn, talk to other people about it. That's the confrontation of sin, is treated as the enemy. And if you're the enemy, this is where us being godly young men come in, is we don't have a whole lot of enemies. And so it's like, oh, I kind of want to be nice, guys. Be putting this to death or it'll be killing you. So number one, confront your own sinfulness, take it very seriously, and get that separation between you and God removed.
Yeah, number two, should be fairly obvious. Be in the Word. Be in the Word. And I want to be specific about, we want to be specific about this. We're not just saying do your 7-minute a day Bible reading and call it a day. That's great. If you're not doing that, that's probably a good place to start. But be in the Word means a whole lot more than, again, just kind of checking off your 3 chapters a day and then moving on to something else. Be very curious about God. Be very curious about the Bible. Take a specific book and take a couple hours a week and study that particular book of the Bible, that is. Find some commentaries. Use some resources online. Really kind of develop your own faith. Joe's got on here, participate in class. Don't just be the guy that just kind of sits and observes, or maybe half listens and half is thinking about other things. No, take advantage. This is what, not to get on a soapbox here, this is what frustrates me about people that just skip Bible class. You've got a perfect opportunity right there in front of you to learn about God's Word from somebody who probably knows more than you, with fellow believers. What are you doing skipping class? Like that is it's just right there for you on a silver platter, and you're like, nah, I'm good. Man, attend, first of all, but then second of all, participate in Bible class. Again, whether you're at home or whether you're at the church building, again, at class, man, go beyond just the daily reading. Really be in the Word and be curious about the Word and try to study the Word deeper. That'll be... Probably should have been number one here. Maybe not, but definitely one of these early ones is very important. Be in the Word.
Yeah, it's there's not much more to add to that other than the Bible is unbelievably cool. It just is. That may be not a word that you associate with it too often, but it is unbelievable.
There's a reason it's the most studied book of all time.
Exactly. And I mean, you could be 130 studying every single day of your life for 12 hours. You'd never find out all that there is to know. That's why we talk about being in the Word, is we're excited about the Word of God. Like, the typology, once you get into different types of study, the typology studies just fascinate me. You get into any deep exegetical study, right, where you're digging into a book and go, whoa, I'm making all these connections. And did you know this Greek word, this, means this here? Like, there's so many levels you can go down that, as I've got 2 degrees in biblical studies, I'm on like the second level of probably, 100. Like, there's so many different levels you can go all the way down. And that's what keeps you coming back for more. This is fascinating stuff. It's really, really good. If you want to develop a relationship with God, be in the Word and find those little treasures, those nuggets, and meditate on those throughout the day. Number 3, consistent prayer, not just in the good times. Really easy to be thanking God for, wow, boy, things are great, and I'm really, doing very well. It's also really easy, not just in the bad times, where things are really bad and God's the genie in the bottle, where it's like, man, I got to pray to God and
I really want this job.
Yeah, exactly.
God, help me get this
Things
job.
are really bad, and I know I need God in this moment. Like, yeah, I also need Him in the really good times too. So make sure that the prayer life is consistent in that process. And the other thing I'd add, show emotion in your prayers. Cry out to God. Have that emotion where if it's all just stiff and, sorry to say, but I know people pray in like the King James voice of thou and thy and things like that.
We thank thee for thy care.
We thank thee, and that's fine. However you're going to pray, I'm not going to dog people for that. On the other hand, I do think that we want to be able to speak in your voice. You want that personal relationship with God where we're not just, kind of approaching. Yes, we're approaching the Almighty, but we're also approaching our Heavenly Father. We're approaching somebody who wants that relationship. That's where the emotion should really come from. Is, man, I'm talking just like I would talk to my dad. Yes, he's the God of the universe, but I also don't want to have him so high up that it's like I can't even approach him. That's why in Hebrews 4 it talks about us boldly approaching with confidence, right, the throne. So that's the work of Christ. Is I don't boldly approach because I'm the greatness of me. Christ has allowed for that with the veil tearing and us being able to enter the Holy of Holies. We have a high priest that did that for us, and so approach boldly.
That's really good. Number 4, I'm keep rolling. Prepare well for worship on Sunday. This is really important. I know we've talked about this in episodes prior. Man, I would love if every godly young man would put this into practice immediately. The nice thing about this one is you can start this next time you worship. Like, this is coming out on Tuesday. You can start this in 4 or 5 days. Prepare well for worship. One of the things that we mean, of course, is starting about Saturday night. Get some good sleep. Maybe get up early on Sunday morning and maybe read your Bible, maybe spend some time in prayer. I think everybody knows the feeling of maybe you wake up a little bit late for work and you're like rushing out the door, brushing your teeth really fast, throwing your clothes on, you hop in the car, go to work, and man, your day is just, you're like frazzled already. Yeah. Like, it's not a very peaceful time. You're getting to work, clocking in right on time. You're not setting yourself up very well for the day for work. I think a lot of people do the same thing for worship. Yep. And trust me, it gets a lot harder with kids, but this is where, I would say, especially while you don't have kids and you control your own schedule, maybe get up a little bit earlier. Maybe spend some time listening to some a cappella music Sunday morning. I know that's my wife and I, my family have a 40-minute drive. We have that playing every Sunday morning. And I know you've talked about like singing in the shower, singing praises to God in the shower. And so Saturday night into Sunday morning before worship is really big. But Joe, we've got on here, spend time worshiping throughout the week. This is a distinction, I think, if I remember right, when we were prepping this episode, I brought up about the idea of where I think sometimes denominations do a better job than the Church of Christ does is about consistent worship. Not just Sunday morning worship, but worshiping God throughout the week. Truly, they listen, of course, with instruments, and so it's, not everybody's not a fan of that, but worship music is what they call it. Why? Because on the drive in to work, they might be worshiping. As they're doing something that, doesn't require a lot of thinking, they're worshiping God. And I think that's something that we in the church can do a better job of. I'm not talking about corporate worship, but of spending time worshiping God, praising God. That's what the Psalms are all about. When you read the Psalms, David is praising and worshiping God a lot. So I think this is where we can do a better job of that. And the last thing, Joe, you've got on here is participate in worship. Sing out. Right. Flip to the scriptures. Listen to the sermon. Really take time and reflect on the Lord's Supper. All things we talked about before, but man, this is an area you can take your level of engagement up so much. Not just on Sundays, not just on Saturday nights before, but throughout the week in your worship to God.
Sunday is incredibly important to get right. As the first day of the week, it really is important to be there, be present, be engaged, be active, participate, talk to people, fellowship, right? Don't just walk in the door and walk right back out, skip Bible class. Like, treat this as the preparation for war during the week. And if you're treating it as such, your relationship with God will improve if you are taking him as holy, treating him as holy, and you're really prepping for that first day of the week.
And if that's the first time that you've thought about worshiping God since the previous Sunday,
right,
that's kind of what we're chastising here. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, correct. That'll build your relationship with God a lot if we can do that throughout the week. Number 5, put yourself in positions of risk where you need God. Put yourself in positions of risk where you need God. These would be things like evangelism. Getting out and evangelizing where it's really uncomfortable. Sometimes that's going to it's going to take a little extra measure of courage or whatever it may be to talk to somebody about Christ and to let them know of your faith. But you need God in that moment. Man, what am I going to say? And I've had these moments, I'm sure you have as well, where you're on the airplane. It's like, what am I going to tell this person? I feel called to say something to this person. What am I going to say? Just say that prayer to God. Like, God, please give me the words. I've done this in a countless number of therapy sessions. God, give me the words. Help me to know where you want me to lead this, where you want me to go. And I'm telling you, every time he comes through for me. I've had so many good conversations on planes. I don't know what comes of it. I didn't baptize him on an airplane. But who knows? We talk to people and we start these conversations, spark these things up. Put yourself in positions of risk where you need God. The other thing might be, and this is where the prayer life comes in, taking risks. If you're as godly a man, of course we're going to take risks in business or with family or with girls or moving across the nation for something. Be in prayer about that, but be willing to take risks where you need God to come through for you. I've preached on this before. I've said this a lot. I've probably spoken on the podcast about it before. When God is like, you have A, B, and C figured out, and it's like, well, God's kind of got me. Sometimes it's best to have God as plan A, and that's it. And yeah, that's really, really scary, but this is also where faith comes in. So there's a level of wisdom that has to go with this, where it's like, well, I'm going to quit my $100,000 a year job to go, paint puppy dogs for $14. I think God's with me. Probably not. You got to be wise type of thing. But on the other hand, yeah, I think there's a level of trusting God in the moment, very much like Gideon. Man, 300 guys surround an army of 100,000. Like, if this goes south, if God doesn't show up for them, they're killed in about 20 seconds.
Yep.
God had to come through, so that's what I'm talking about.
That's really good. You got on here, get outside your comfort zone. I think that's really big. A lot of young men can just stay in their comfort zone, and not just young men. I mean, I'm 25. You're 30, Joe. We like to stay in our comfort. 31. Wow,
I know.
Crazy. Oh my goodness. Sorry, not to depress you right now, but it can be very tempting for us to stay in our comfort zone on stuff. And so, you got on here things like, man, song lead. Even if you're like, man, I'm just not that great at song lead, give it a try. Give a Devo if you're somebody who's like, man, I don't like public speaking. Listen, it's not for everybody, but man, give it a try.
Yeah,
really give it a try.
Risk.
Take a risk. Study the Bible with somebody, as Joe's talking about. Man, just mention that. Invite your friend to church. Sometimes it's as simple as that. Inviting your friend to church or your coworker to church, or saying, hey, we're having a Bible study this night. Why don't you come join us? That kind of thing. Getting outside your comfort zone in all areas of life, but specifically here with evangelism, I do think it's a very good practice for young men to get into. Joe, get us into number 6, then I'll do number 7.
Yeah, number 6 is study theology. You want to develop a better relationship with God, study theology. There's a great book. No, he is not a Christian, or not a Church of Christ. He's a Calvinist, so we don't agree with everything, but The Holiness of God.
Spit out the bones. Yeah. R.C. Sproul. Oh, man,
R.C. Sproul,
that's a great
Holiness
book.
of God. It's things like that where you're learning about God, and he just... the presentation for that book and so many others, sometimes, especially if you're a Church of Christ listener, it's like, oh, hey, we don't want to go to the denominations. Look, there's some people that just are unbelievable with it. Desiring God, I think you can spit out some of the bones in Desiring God from John Piper. By and large, I think it's tough to get through, I'll tell you.
The Holiness of God slog. Is one of those that it's a bit of a tough read, but not really. And there's also not many bones to spit out in that one.
I was going to say, that's one of your favorites, isn't it?
That's a really good one. That's one of my favorite theology books I've read, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, study theology. Yes, study the Bible, but specifically, even, we'll get into number 7, I suppose, but it goes along. Go ahead and get us into number 7.
Yeah, number 7 is study apologetics, which is obviously a different category in the sense of, like, study to know how to defend your faith. Shameless plug, Convicted by Dr. Brad Harrop is a great one.
It is really
available
good
on focuspress.org. It is probably one of the best apologetics books out there, in my opinion. Yes, really I am biased. It's my dad that wrote it, but
no, legitimately, it's
so comprehensive. It covers existence of God. Did Jesus exist? Is the Bible inspired? What about evolution? Ice Age, dinosaur. I mean, all kind of stuff to strengthen our faith. To know, like, hey, there's a reason why I believe that God exists. There's a reason why I believe that Jesus was resurrected, or why there's not contradictions in the Bible. I mean, it's exhaustive. It covers so much. I know I've talked before about I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, being an excellent one as well to read. A bunch of other ones. What's the guy's name? Norman Geisler is big in the apologetics world.
Yeah.
Study theology, study apologetics. We kind of wrote those together. Number 6, number 7.
Well, in the just real fast on the theology, study the Godhead. You will Trinity, come away with a Trinity. You will come away with a renewed understanding of God. Study the deity of Christ. I mean, there are some things that just break your brain, like you can't get there, but that speaks to the goodness of God. As man would not come up with something as complex, in my opinion, as complex as the Trinity. We can't possibly, it's the same thing as eternity. We cannot fathom it. We cannot understand it. And to me, that speaks to the greatness of God. And so God knows everything about us. It's important for us to learn about him. And that goes with the apologetics, but it goes with theology. Theology just being the study of God, right? Like, it goes with the idea of you need to be able to defend your faith, and you need to be in awe of God. And when you study theology even this much, it opens things up to go, man, we serve an amazing, awesome God.
Read C.S. Lewis as well. That's just...
Yeah.
That might have...
Basically every one of his books.
Right, exactly, yeah. Number 8, and then, Joe, if you want to do number 9. Number 8, we have start your day off with choosing God. Obviously, Joshua 24, verse 15 is a very well-known, it's basically up on everybody's mantle in the church, right? As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. It's a great verse. It really is. Joshua basically telling the Israelites, hey, you go serve whoever you want. I'm going to choose to serve the most powerful.
Choose this day.
Yeah, the most powerful God of the universe who got us here and got us to the promised land. That's who I'm going to serve. It's almost like, I don't know, that's the way I read it. But yeah, he says, choose this day. Choose this day whom you will serve. And so start your day off with choosing God. Let's face it, you have a choice every single day. When you wake up, you can choose to serve yourself. You can choose to serve your own desires, what you want to do, your own needs, whatever. Or you can choose to serve God. And while it might be daunting, it's like I have to make that decision every day. Man, it gets easier and easier as you're developing this heart for God. If you wake up and decide, I'm going to serve God today. I'm not going to serve myself. I'm not going to serve my own fleshly desires. I'm going to serve God. I'm going to choose God. It's definitely one of the most important understandings of your daily walk is that you understand this is a choice I'm making every day.
Well, it's a basic one. It kind of, might sound a little cheesy or kitschy or whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, every morning when you wake up, say a prayer. Meditate on God for a second. Read a scripture and just allow that to meditate throughout the day. So we talk so much as godly young men about starting the day off right. Choosing, if you're going to have a sin present itself at 7 p.m. and you haven't chosen God all day, it's going to be a little bit difficult, right? It's going to be a little difficult. When you start on I'm in the right relationship with God, I'm doing the right thing from day one, from the start of my day, I should say, from the moment you wake up, I'm here to serve God. I'm here to glorify God. And you put yourself in that mindset of, you know what, not everything, we don't have to spiritualize everything. We're not Gnostics or things like that. On the other hand, we have the opportunity to glorify God throughout so many parts of our day with how we show up to work, the attitude that we show up to work with, how we show up to the gym, getting there and working out. Those things are taking care of what God has put in our lives and in our paths. That starts with you choosing at the very start of the day, man, I'm going to look for ways to choose God today. I'm going to look for ways to glorify Him. I'm going to look for ways to be better. I'm working for my boss as unto the Lord instead of I'm working for myself and, man, forget this job and this job stinks and everything else. You know what? I'm working for God. You start that at 6 a.m. thinking about those things throughout the day as you're heading to the gym, the music choices that you listen to as you head to the gym. You got to think about those things. You got to think about the things that are going to draw you closer to God. And the longer you get into the day before you're really taking thoughts captive, the harder that's going to be. So yes, that's what we mean by start your day off with choosing God. Next, number 9, keep a journal. Most guys are not good at this, I'll be honest with you. We are not good at journaling. I have 3 different journals that I keep. One's more therapy ideas, biblical ideas. Another one is a journal that I'm actually, I write in.
It's coming into the cultural zeitgeist quite a bit more. A lot of self-help people and obviously therapists are telling people, hey, it's a good thing to journal.
It's huge. I use it actually a decent amount in therapy because getting it out, it's a way to get your emotions out, get your thoughts out, things like that. But it forces you to slow down and write it. Instead of, I've already thought about it, it's fine. No, my thoughts are, and I'm sure as yours, pew, 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 bazillion miles an hour, they're here and they're gone. When I have to sit there and write it out, there's a little weight to that. And so the journal could be a gratefulness journal. That's my third one. I have a gratefulness journal that, I don't put in every day, but I, try to keep a fairly consistent log of things I'm grateful for. Hey, we did this yesterday, and I'm really thankful to God that I had the opportunity. So I can go back, and I have hundreds of entries of all the things God's done. It's really cool. A prayer and an answered prayer is part of the journal. So what do I need to pray for? Yeah, I'll pray for you, buddy. How many times do we hear that? I mean, I've said that hundreds of times in my life. Yeah, I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. How many times do you actually stop and go pray for that person? Now, I really do try to make an effort to stop and pray. Put it in a prayer journal. Put their name down. Beseech God on their behalf. Get on your knees and make sure to have an answered prayer portion of the journal so that you can see God did come through for us in this way.
Yeah, I really like this one. I need to get better at this one. You've got some of the things on you. Make a list of areas you feel like you struggle in. Even note taking during sermons. I think that's a really important. I'm definitely gonna make sure my kids do that. I need to do a better job of that myself. It's a little hard when I'm got kids on my lap during worship most of the time, but yeah, it gives you some stuff to go back to. It gives you something to look at, and I love the gratefulness one. To me is probably the most important one from my perspective, just because, man, anytime you are forced to sit and think about what has God done for me, it can just spill out of your pen sometimes. You just keep writing and keep writing and keep writing. Even if you limit yourself to 1 or 2 things a day, forces you to look at maybe some of the unique things, the cup of coffee, the sunset, whatever, the air conditioning in your car, all kind of things. And so this is one. The other thing too, why this is important, you have to slow down and you have to sit and kind of quiet for a few minutes.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of that in our lives. There's not a lot of that for young men, especially in their lives. Everything got YouTube going, got music going, got a podcast going, got somebody talking to you. There's not a lot of quiet time.
Let me also say this before I'll let you do number 10 and wrap us up. On the journal, keep godly thoughts as a journal. As I said, that's my primary journal. Is I have 2 sides of it actually. The first side is all therapy thoughts of things that I want to either podcast on or think about or study or whatever it is, or just some thoughts that I have. The back side is biblical thoughts. It's kind of getting closer to one another, so I'll need a new one soon. But the biblical thoughts are like Lord's Supper ideas. So anytime I get asked for Lord's Supper on the spot, I flip through it because I take it to church with me. I flip through it. It's like, oh man, I got 4 different options for a quick Lord's Supper on the spot. I've got sermons written out in there, sermon ideas of what I might write down, questions that I want to go study later, things about God, or somebody says something in a sermon. It's really like, man, I don't think I know that. And so I'll write it all down. I've got pages and pages of this type of stuff that I can go back, look at later. It does boost the study life. It gets me thinking about God. It gets me thinking about biblical things. And so I'd strongly encourage you to make a journal of godly thoughts, sermon ideas, Lord's Supper ideas, things like that.
Number 10, last but not least, be around other strong Christians. Very much a theme of the Godly Young Men podcast. Who you hang out with matters. Evil company corrupts good habits. Your friend choices, who you surround yourself with, their ideas, their view of the world is going to impact your ideas and your view of the world. And so, man, if you want to have a heart for God, it's really difficult to develop that if you're around people who not only don't have a heart for God, but don't really care to have one themselves either. Not really trying to have one. And so this is one of those difficult decisions you might have to make where you decide, I'm going to spend less time around these people or this person because they're not leading me in that direction. But, man, if you can find people, if you can find a group of people especially that you can tell they either, A, again, have a heart for God that you want to emulate, or two, man, they're really trying their best. Maybe they're your age, same age group, same age range, and y'all are all working together to try to do a lot of these things. Y'all are studying theology together, studying apologetics together, looking to engage in worship more. Man, if you can find a group of people, a group of young men especially, to help you do that and to, hold you accountable in a way, but also just, man, let's face it, things are more fun to do, and you got a bunch of other people doing it with you. And so, yeah, this is a really important one. Yeah,
you can see this throughout the Old Testament as well, of the idea of good company, surrounding yourself with people that are going to spur you on to greatness. You look at somebody like David. He surrounds himself with people like Jonathan. Just a great relationship. You can tell that drives a big part of him and just growing closer to one another. And there's this godly element to it. Versus, who's the one? Is it Absalom? I know this is his son, but who's the one that says that doubles down that your father is basically weak on him? And I was trying to think.
Rehoboam.
Thank you, Rehoboam. Like, yeah, yep. He's Solomon's son, I believe is what it is.
Yep.
And he gets around the wrong people and he talks to the older advisors.
They give him terrible advice.
The older advisors give him great advice. Hey, you already got it, man. They're going to follow you. Just basically keep the ship going. And then he gets around bad people. They give him horrible advice, and you're going to crack the whip. Kingdom splits because he took horrible advice from the wrong people.
Yep.
This point cannot be understated. Yes, it's number 10. Don't let that be the last but not least, as they say. Don't let that kind of slip by. If you are around knuckleheads, it will not go well. You want a heart for God, you got to surround yourself by people who are thinking godly things. One of the reasons why I love being around Will so much, my brother Jack, is we text back and forth all the time, and sometimes it's funny things, sometimes it's political things, a lot of times it's scriptural things, biblical things. What do you think about this? Whatever it is, it gets you thinking about that and keeps you sharp for God, where I'm not just thinking about God on Sunday and Wednesday and Sunday. Throughout the week, we're talking about these things, engaging culture from a biblical understanding. So, yeah, I think it's really important to be around other strong Christians that are going to spur you on, especially of your age, that you can talk to and engage in things like that.
Yeah, I mean, this was one, I don't even know what I'm going to title it yet, but, maybe not going to be the most scintillating title or, spicy, oh, man, I want to know what they're going to say about this. This is a really, really important one. I'm really glad Joe put this outline together. Really, we appreciate the requests, from Brian. Man, there's a lot. We put down 10 things fairly quickly. Probably could have put down a few more. So, as Joe said earlier, let us know if you have any additions to the list. Developing a heart for God is something that your actions are important. Don't mishear us. What you choose to do is important. But, man, the Pharisees, on the outside, did everything correctly. And Jesus spent a lot of time basically saying, you guys are on the complete wrong track. Again, what you do matters. It's not all about the heart. But, man, what you do, the heart will determine your actions. And so it's really important to have that heart for God, because generally you'll be on the right track with your actions if you have a heart for God. But that's all I've got to say to wrap us up.
Yeah, that's a great wrap up. This has been episode 135 of the Godly Young Men podcast. We'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for listening.